Hello?
I can hear you now, Frank.
All right. Thanks for your time, man.
No problem. No problem. How can I help you?
I was just calling to follow up on the training that you had offered um, in the way of real estate investing.
Yes. Is there any specific topic you want to talk about that you need help with?
Just like the virtual real estate.
Hmm.
Well, well, you had several choices there, but my primary interest is in apartment investing.
Okay.
So yeah, I would like to. I would like. I mean, is there really any such thing as like investing in apartments with no money down? I mean, I understand the whole skin in the game thing,
Right.
but in terms of entering into an actual transaction with no money, with no money, no credit, is there really a way to initiate or get into a transaction, uh, as long as as long as mutually agreeable terms are in place.
Well, this will apply not only with apartments or with houses. It doesn't matter if you call it apartments or houses. The key is the flexibility of the parties involved in the transaction. I've done several deals where there was no money involved in the deal, as far as what you would call no money down or no money invested in the property. We did a deal. I did a video a week ago. Now this wasn't an apartment, but
Uh,
we purchased apartments that way too in downtown Baltimore, where we had financing in place. We had to get finance for it, but then we got uh, refinance that took us out of the actual money that we had to put up. So literally, it was no money down. It was a deal where we got it with no money, but it wasn't from the start. It was after the refi. So is there ways in which you can get into it literally with no money? Yeah, but you're talking about everything falling into the right place at the right time. You got to have the right seller. You got to have the right situation, and you got to have the right buyer, meaning yourself, involved in it that knows how to structure it. A lot of times investors get into what we call no money deals where they're getting money out of the transaction from the seller by over financing the property and getting that money back in the form of a repair escrow. So that's another way you get into apartment buildings with no money out of pocket by over financing it and having the seller kick you back a repair escrow, which covers all your upfront costs. But I don't know. We did a deal, a residential deal, and this was 3 weeks ago. That was literally no money out of pocket. It was a deal where the person let us take over the property by way of a master lease, and we're paying first payment to that person in 45 days, and we're renting the property out with a $900 a month cash flow. And that was literally no money out of pocket. So there is ways of doing it, but the stars have to line up properly, and you need to have an understanding of creative deal structuring.
okay. Okay.
Now, the other aspect to it is it doesn't happen often. Let me definitely preface that. It does not happen every month or every other month. These are deals that will fall in your lap maybe two, three times a year, if that many. So I don't want to give you the misconception that it happens all the time, because it doesn't.
So I mean, so in order for this a transaction like this to happen at all, it just simply involves, uh, you know, a continuous reaching out to different prospects, different prospects that may avail themselves to that sort of setup and transaction.
Absolutely, Frank. You're talking about people that are highly motivated, and I mean really motivated. Hey, I got this property that's been sitting here vacant for 6 months. I'm tired of it. I just want somebody to just take it off my hands. or somebody that has a lot of equity in the property and they have no problem doing some type of creative deal structure because they don't need all the money up front, because it could be a huge tax hit getting all that money up front. So they don't have a problem with a creative deal structure. Those are usually the situations that needs to be in place. Highly motivated or highly situational.
Okay. So even in an ideal situation, let's say I successfully landed or contacted a motivated seller. Would I still be required to have some money at the closing in order to facilitate or just carry the transaction to close?
It depends. Like the one I told you about we did 3 weeks ago, we didn't have to have any money at the closing. That was a deal where we just did a master lease and we didn't even have to give the person a down payment. So we just did a master lease on the property and we're creating $900 a month cash flow. But we're also going to have, the property also has $200,000 in equity. She's not ready to sell yet. She just wanted somebody to rent it out. And we also agreed to an option to buy with a right to, with an actual right of first refusal when she decides to sell. So we can try to capture some of that equity. And that didn't require any money out of pocket at all, other than marketing to her and finding that situational person who was tired of being a landlord, who didn't want to manage it anymore, who just wanted somebody to make the payments for her.
So essentially, she was motivated enough to let you and your team come in and control the deal.
There you go. And it's not always about buying it. A lot of people think that that asset of real estate should be purchased. I'm a firm believer that you can make just as much money in real estate by controlling it as you can buying it. As a matter of fact, to me, to get in it, as you would say, no money down, in a situation where you not have to be credit qualified or have to be bank qualified, the control aspect of it gives you more flexibility. But it also, and here's the downside, it doesn't give you ownership. If you just want control and you just want cash flow without ownership, this is the best way to go, by way of doing creative deal structuring like master leasing and so on. But it's a double-edged sword. You don't have ownership. Without ownership, you can get in with little to no money down, but it's still finding that motivated seller.
Well, I'm sure in this great big land of ours, they're still out there. And I'm a firm believer that there is. I just have the hope. I mean, because I've been wanting to dance in this space for quite a few years now, and I'm just motivated to. But it seems like they're that I just can't seem to move forward, and only in the sense that, you know, I'm acquiring all this knowledge, but I don't know what is holding me back. But at the same time, I mean, from talking to you, I mean, this is the first time I've ever had a meaningful conversation with someone concerning what I want to do with my, my first commercial transaction and how to navigate through it.
Typically, Mike, typically, Frank, the way that what you're talking about is done, this is how it's done typically. If you say the majority of the time, the way it's done is that you, the investor, puts down a down payment on a commercial type of deal. Let's say a multifamily, 5 units, 7 units, whatever. And then you make sure you have a deal at good enough where you at 65, 70% of value or less. And then in 3 months at close or whatever, you refinance and get all your money out that you put down. Typically, that's how it's done, using the BRRR method. So you have a down payment. Most of the time it's 15, 20%. You put that down, but you're putting it down on a asset that already is at 70% value. So you're getting it at a good price already. And then you count in the
Right.
cash flow and so on. You're getting it at a good price. And then you have a lender lined up that's going to refinance you out so that you can get your money that you put down. Hence the term no money out of pocket, because you just
Oh,
refinance at that 70% that covers the amount of money you put down. You put it back in your pocket. Now you do it over again, over again, over again. Each and every time you're doing that, you're getting your money back. So literally you're getting in real estate with no money.
wow.
But in that
Uh,
scenario, you got to have a good deal. You got to have the down payment. And most important part, you got to have the lender already lined up so that you can say, bam, I got one. Here's what I need you to do.
oh, okay. Well, I do have a couple of, I do have a private money lender list. But let me ask you this. Like, okay, when, as a newbie,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say I'm knowledgeable. I'm ready to pull the trigger on my first deal. In my approach to a motivated seller, would they would they would they put would they put any weight um, toward? I mean, would they even work with me if this would be my first deal, or do you know if they would look for someone with more experience that has done 2 or 3 deals, or have 2 or 3 deals under their belt already?
You said a key word in the actual conversation that you just said. And that key word was motivated seller. All a motivated seller cares about is, can you help them? They don't care
Ah,
about your resume. They don't care about how many degrees you have. All they care about is, can you help them? You got to
oh
always
my,
remember, Frank, you're never going to convince a person to sell their property. I don't care how motivated. You're not going to convince them to sell. They have to already want to sell. What you want to convince them to do, Frank, is to sell their property to you. And that's where building rapport comes into play. People like doing business with people who they like, know, and trust. So you got to build that rapport with that motivated seller on that phone. So that motivated seller can pull the trigger and say, I want to work with Frank. So
wow.
to answer your question, yes. They don't care if you don't have a degree or you're not a licensed real estate professional. They just care of the favorite radio station for all sellers, WIFFM. What's in it for me? That's all they care about.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Now, are, considering the position that COVID has put us in,
Mhm.
um, can these motivated sellers be found online in actuality,
We're finding them
or is it a
online.
combination? Pardon
We're
me?
finding them online, and we're finding them with tools. So we use a tool called PropStream. It allows us to pull 10,000 leads per month. That's our number
Oh,
one tool that we use. And I'll put the link in the chat box so you can go to it and all that stuff. It has a free 7-day trial. So we use that
oh,
tool to actually pull the actual list of free and clear people, people that's on pre-foreclosure, people that's going through divorce, people that have judgments, people that have vacant properties, absentee owners. All of that is inside of this one system. So yes, not to mention, as you mentioned, online, you have opportunities online at different courthouse sites, failure to pay rent notices, and so probate as well. So there's lots of opportunity right now, because the key thing here is not a person that want to sell, but a person that need to sell. And a person that need to sell will jump through hell and high hoops to get that deal, to get that house sold. They're not worried about the COVID situation. They're going to try to figure out a way that they can work with you through that situation, whether it's at a distance, whether it's them putting a lockbox on the property and you walking through the property by yourself, whether you're meeting and you're distancing yourself 6 feet apart from the person. They're going to figure out a way, because they need to sell. They have a problem
mm,
that needs to be solved that can't wait until COVID is over.
mm, interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right. Wow. Uh, okay. All right. I guess that's. I guess you've answered all of my. I guess you've answered the questions that had concerned me most, Mr. Blair. I do thank you for your time, man.
No problem. I'm going to put that link in the actual chat box for that piece of software I was telling you about.
Yes. Thank
I'm
you.
put, I'm putting that in the chat box right now, and you should be seeing it right now, my friend.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, take care.
You as well. Bye bye now.